shirt. Lucky shirt.
Light blues.
Did you get the memo?
Oh, I didn't. No,
Don't feel alone,
I wear a lot of black because it's slim.
but it's hot in the sun.
No, black is slim.
Slimming.
You didn't know that? You should wear more black.
You're saying I'm fat?
No, I'm just saying that you should wear more black.
I am fat.
I think I came to the wrong meeting.
I look 30.
Right in.
Man.
Oh, you get Oh my God. You gotta be able to get in your suit.
Yeah. She's really getting married? What? She's getting married?
That's the polo?
Yeah.
Really? Congrats. Got her a job, got her a husband.
Got her job, husband, no doubt.
Wow.
How much better can things get?
Does it feel like she just graduated from Plainfield? Yeah, that's what she went to high school. Right?
All right, are you
No,
ready?
the other one graduated, just graduated. Well, no, she was.
She said, doesn't it feel like?
Yeah,
And all of a sudden she's
kind of like, you're old. I remember when she was born, they had to drive to St. Louis. Well, that's where she-
Oh my God.
All right, it is 5:30. We're going to call the Tipton Common Council meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. First item on the agenda are the minutes from the last meeting.
I move to approve July 27th minutes as written.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the July 27th meeting as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Any amendments to the agenda this evening? Hearing none, we'll move to the committee reports, board reports. This is the first meeting of the month, so we'll begin with Board of Works.
We had a pretty busy meeting. We got an update from the parks and the cemetery. Business as usual at the cemetery, no real issues. Diana's been working on the phase 2 trail signs and gave us an update on the ball diamonds and the LWCF grant, kind of what we're looking at moving forward with the park and the bond we've got on the park. It'd be really nice to get everything paved and redone. It's been a
Amen.
nightmare for a while. And I'm sure some of you know, I talked about the orange slide came down, so it's a good opportunity for us to talk about as a city. If we don't use all that bond money or we get grants or whatever, what might we do to improve parks and recreation at that time? Dylan's been extremely busy. He had his summer help. I think they're finished, but if you haven't noticed, just lots going on, whether it's the banners or the citywide cleanup that we did, which was really well received, or the alley potholes being patched. Dylan was able to close out the 2024 CCMG, which will make us eligible for the October application of this year's CCMG, which would be nice to get back on that rotation. The big thing I think the council, at least from the street department's perspective, is they're starting to sell all the surplus that we talked about, probably net 10 to 15,000. I think we probably should find a way to budget for what's called Violytics. County uses it. It can integrate with OpenGov, which we're looking to switch to, or at least work with OpenGov. But Violytics allows Dylan and other departments to see all the city's assets, details of those assets, grades and conditions of those assets, and it makes applications for grants. It makes managing assets just a whole lot easier. Implementation costs all in for the first year is $11,815. Afterwards, it's $9,400 a year. County hasn't had a great experience with it. Just something I think we probably should look for. Maybe it's already in the budget, but it's something I think would help Dylan do his job a lot easier. Then we got a really long update from the planning department. As Tim works to just kind of standardize the processes for the city, including all the forms. Paige has been extremely busy. Trash letters, grass letters, nuisance letters. She's issued 7 demo letters, of which 5 have been completed. So we've already completed demos on 5 structures within the city just this year, which is great considering it's a new department. And it's really nice to see the planning department working pretty closely with TMU on how we can do better with C of O inspections, permitting, inspections in terms of progress during construction. A lot of things we've just missed in the past that we want to try to get ahead of now. But really, really solid meeting. You can tell the department heads are just trying to do their best to kind of modernize things and work together. So it was a pretty productive Board of Works meeting.
Very good. Cemetery Board?
Nothing to report. Our next meeting is September 15th.
Very good. Park Board?
Did have a meeting, it was a shorter meeting, but she had Diane put in for the grant and everything, and she's gonna try to get the curly slide replaced with that grant. The golf course wasn't here to make a presentation, but swimming pool, he made a very long, very good presentation, gave the numbers for the year, said they had done really good this year, good numbers of people out the pool. So we've done a thing online for complaints. The biggest complaint was the bathrooms and the facility in that area because it's so old and outdated that he's going to redo some things. He's looking into next year already, trying to get things ready, and that's about it.
Very good. Utility Board?
Had a good meeting last Monday evening, here in these chambers. Jim says everything is going well. That was pretty much it.
Very good. No items under new or old business. I hope the council won't mind. I do see the mayor's report is absent from the agenda. I don't think that's a slight. Tammy.
Oh, maybe.
She want to hear from me.
But if you'll indulge me, I'm not asking for any approvals. These are all updates. The first is to acknowledge the staff within the city of Tipton. Just this last week, it's pretty unprecedented just in my experience as mayor that you get the occasional compliments from your departments, largely from whether their services out in the community or doing something on a special event. But last week we had special thanks given to both the police chief and fire chief, their involvement in the activities on First Fridays. It's required some on-site problem solving. This is our first time closing Jefferson Street for First Fridays. So their involvement in that troubleshooting was very much appreciated. So I wanted to give a shout out there. Dylan's crew at the Municipal Services did receive another compliment last week, largely on just the cleanliness of town. Actually, my neighbor, by coincidence, is having someone watch their home, I think, while they're on vacation last week. They missed the pickup day for trash. And so on their own merit, they called and wouldn't you know it, their crew came back around to pick up that trash can. So just another great benefit of having locally managed trash service, because we can do little things like that when they come up. And then we had a great conversation with a developer we're working with, and our planning department, utility department, economic development were active and engaged throughout this meeting. After the fact, not only were they complimentary during the meeting, but after the meeting, they reached out just to give high praise and the professionalism, their ability to answer questions, and that as a city, we've prepared enough to this point over the last 2.5 years with some of these departments that they felt reassured that even if we were to come across some challenges down road, that we had a team capable and competent enough to lead us through successfully in this conversation. So just want to give a big shout out to all those departments who all received compliments last week. The last piece of my update, which will be the longest, will be just an initial presentation on where we stand with the city's 2027 budget. This is at the completion of us receiving, us as Tammy and I, the Form 1s from the departments. This is what they have requested for next year. As you all know, at this point, what we'll do from here is work on those adjustments that need to occur to make sure we've got a balanced budget for next year. So starting off, and please stop me if I'm going too quickly. Again, I've put all this information in, so I understand it fairly well and realize this is your first exposure to it, but it certainly won't be the last. As we look into next year, we are estimating approximately $8.667 million in revenues for next year. I'll get into a little bit later exactly what those revenues, where they come from largely. Currently, we have requests, and that's again from the department heads requesting for next year's budget $10.652 million, which leaves us a gap of $1.452 million that we've got to, like I said, make those adjustments within those budgets. We usually go through, or always go through, an exercise in the fall on reducing current budgets. That'll help close that gap, but then also just make sure that can we be creative in the ways that we fund some of these opportunities as we head into next year. As we look at this year's fiscal budget for 2026 compared to the request for next year, we do have, and again, this is just on the initial submissions of Form 1, a $1.617 million increase that has been requested, approximately 18% higher than the current budget. As I said, getting into the revenues, our baseline that we were originally planning for was an $8.224 million. Those numbers were a little outdated. Some of it overestimated some of the initial impact on the SCA1, and also the legislature's kicked the can down the road too. So we haven't seen as much implementation of SCA1 from 2025. Again, contrasting that from our baseline of $8.2 million to $8.6 million, we're looking at an increase of approximately $443,000. That is positive, but again, we're still trying to close in this gap. Revenues, one thing that I'm going to try to work with Tammy and the council with are acknowledging the revenues that are generated by the golf course and sanitation. Golf course has made some significant improvements in its revenue line, and what we're trying to challenge them to is to operate the golf course within the revenues, really challenging that operation for the city of Tipton to operate much like a private sector business, only from the viewpoint that there are a lot of private sector or privately owned golf courses who seem to be able to at least break even. And that's really our goal. We're not out here trying to mint money down the golf course. What I'm trying to challenge them to do is to break even, because the golf course, at least as far back as the data that I'm able to obtain, has never come close to breaking even. And it enables a lot of our activity with the budget if we can get them to a break even. The makeup of our revenues for the city of Tipton largely are property tax. You'll see there from the $8.6 million, almost 3.5 of that is property tax. Lit, which is local income tax, is the next largest share. You'll see two represented there. One is certified shares. That is our annual contributions from the local income tax. The supplemental is the state's analysis on, they estimate what they expect lit to be for the fiscal year. If it comes back and we actually had incomes in the city of Tipton were higher than they estimated, then there's what's called a supplemental. City of Tipton has received a supplemental payment from the state, which is positive. People in Tipton are making more money than the state is estimating. This year's supplemental payment is roughly $376,000. So those, though we received those this year, they really aren't usable because they're not appropriated. We'd have the ability to appropriate it in the following year. Sanitation receipts, some of this does need verify, or is verified but re-verified. We didn't budget any of the dollars when the council voted to approve the trash rate increase last year. Tammy and I thought it was prudent not to budget those increased dollars, just to make sure that we could confirm that revenues received were revenues that we estimated. So we now have had a full fiscal year of those being billed out and paid. So now I feel confident that we can start to budget those dollars to take some of the expectations, responsibilities of Dylan's department and shifting those more into the sanitation, since we have those revenues. Golf course receipts, they're also estimated at $500,000. We're hopeful that that's low. Currently, to date, the golf course has generated just over $410,000. And so we've got a few good months of golf left, which are positive, but we'll be keeping an eye on that to make sure that if we need to adjust that up or down, we'll do that. Next largest category, investment earnings. These are from our bank account generating revenues from our cash balance at Star Financial, largely. And then there's some other revenues. An example of other revenues, planning department obviously has permits and fees associated with it. We also have a PILT payment in lieu of tax with our utility. That's $125,000. So there's more information I can share on what all those other revenues include. But those are the largest categories for the city of Tipton.
Other revenues do not include ALS services. Is that being captured elsewhere and just kind of sequestered away from?
I don't
Fund.
think that those are represented in these numbers that you see.
Probably not, because you're probably talking more general fund.
Correct.
So they're not.
That's ambulance.
That's a
Right.
great,
I
great
just wanna
question.
make sure
Yeah.
they're kept separate, but something we probably should look at.
Yep.
too.
Going into the general fund requests, another thing I thought would be good to detail is the vast majority of our budget every year is in personal services. This is incredibly heavy in just people, of course. There's some other costs that are included in this, which include the public safety perf, civilian perf are included in this, longevity is a piece of this. But the vast majority, and I think as I estimated or calculated based on this year's budgets, fire and police are pretty close in their pension to an annual investment of $600,000. The civilian employees are closer to $375,000. And then longevity, I didn't calculate out, but it's again, not a large number. Since our largest longevity payment is $7,500 at the fire department. Civilian lags behind that pretty considerably, and police department's maximum payment is $5,000. So again, illustrating that gap that we have to work on as we head through our budgeting process, a deficit of about $1.5 million, just understanding that a large consideration of our budget is in the personal services. Represented on budget size for the city of Tipton, the largest is the city council, and it's kind of a misnomer because that's health insurance largely, or insurance just in general. For the city of Tipton, we've got some action tonight on change in our health insurance provider. They're providing the same benefit to our employees. Some of these costs are things that are tough for us to control because some of them are based on, like our insurance, or based on use of the insurance. Workman's comp has been another one that has grown considerably over the last several years. Some that's attributed to salaries increasing as well. Also, with the insurance side of things, health insurance has been used pretty heavy, and then we get into personal property liability, general liability costs too. We've had a couple claims. We're hoping, based on a meeting this morning, that we might have some more positive news with that reissuance, but something else we're keeping in mind. From there, the real departments for the city of Tipton, fire is represented as our largest department budget, and the city of Tipton falls closely behind by police. And then you see the list, and I'll be sure to share this. So I'm sure for us, it's a little difficult to see on the small screen. Hopefully it's a little better for those looking at the big screen. But you go through the street, then follows police, golf, and golf actually has two budgets represented here. This is the golf grounds. It has the fourth highest sanitation as proposed in this year's budget: park, mayor's office, planning department, clerk treasurer's, clubhouse, swimming, and cemetery.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
The sanitation, are
Yep.
you talking sanitation general fund or sanitation capital improvement fund?
General fund. And then we see the largest increases versus 2026 illustrated on this right bar. So the first is city council. Again, these are largely attributed to what we estimate are increases to insurance. There's also because we have the municipal election next year, that's a cost that the city of Tipton has to pay for that's added into the council's budget. We're estimating that's going to be around $100,000. I think 4 years ago we budgeted $90,000. We paid 65-ish thousand. So we've reached out to the Christy Crawford to see if we can get some estimates to better hone in that number. But that's another unfortunate expense that we have for next year. Fall then sanitation, fire, police, golf, street, and planning department for their increases. So some things just to, again, get into some of the weeds on what's driving that. Citywide benefits and insurance is largely and almost exclusively in the council's budget, what's driving up some of those increases. Public safety personnel costs, as both departments have requested some adjustments, and some of it is even just the way certifications, for example, trying to make some improvements on that within the departments. And then with the ALS that was brought up earlier, That is, some of that is reflected here, but not all of it. The majority of it is probably reflected in the ambulance fund. But as goes the ambulance paramedic service, so does the fire. So just trying to make some concerted efforts in adjusting those. Sanitation is, again, new because we're just now acknowledging those revenues. And then the golf community assets, including the pool and cemetery park, all have some needs with some aging equipment. Then more of the synopsis. Again, I'll just breeze over this. You can get potentially nauseating, unless you're like me with an accounting degree. Then it's quite exciting. So in the mayor's budget, these are administration, general government. So the mayor, clerk treasurer, city council, and planning department. I do want to note 15% increase in the mayor's budget. This is actually because of changes coming with our legal counsel with the city of Tipton, not knowing what that cost is going to be into next year. I think it's wise, and I'm working on it right now to figure out how can we hone in that number to get a better idea. But that 15% is almost exclusively because of that line item. If I remove that and keep it flat for next year, the increase asked within my budget would be about 3%. Clerk treasurer, same, most of that's, and again, I haven't fully put in Tammy's budget requests into here, but I did make some considerations for staff increases. So that is 2.6% as it is. City council, I haven't gone over that. And planning department, there will be some decreases in here. We've had some good news on the software and some technology side moving into next year. So we'll see that decrease likely pretty considerably as they continue to automate and onboard some technology. Public safety, delivery of services, police department has requested an increase of 13.5%. Fires just barely ahead at 13.8%. Street department at 8.6%. And sanitation, again, this is where we recognize the revenues. So we're going to see a big increase from my proposal here, about 320%. But that's all based on revenues. So while that number looks large, there will also be some shifting that's not represented here from Dylan's budget, but he and I have been working on shifting some of those activities into sanitation to better align that. Community assets and recreation cemetery actually has presented a Form 1 presentation of a negative 3.5%. Again, I haven't worked on Diana to date on any of those numbers yet. This is just her presentation from the cemetery. The park has requested an increase of 7%. Swimming pool, 1% increase. And in golf, and I did combine both the golf clubhouse and golf grounds for a combined increase of 19.45%. So as we look at the budgeting process moving forward, again, this is your first presentation of the budget. This will certainly not be the last time, and we all discuss this moving forward. The plan is to start working with each of the department heads and discussing the requests that they have made. What I hope to do is to work with them on creative ways that we can still maintain level of service, yet possibly moving some of these costs out of the general fund. There are some departments who have more opportunity to do that. For example, Dylan with the street department does have the ability to leverage local road and street. MVH is another one, and sanitation will be a new one for next year. Be some opportunities within those budgets. And then fire department, just trying to challenge as we now continue our success with the ambulance fund. Are there ways to shift from general fund into ambulance fund? There doesn't seem to be a great deal of opportunity there. I think we did a great job, or the council did a great job identifying those budgets appropriately when we started. But there are some costs that we are able to shift to those other line items, which are out of the general fund. So as we continue to work building those reductions and adjustments for our budget, statutorily pre-presentation of the budget, this will be the first meeting in September. And then for adoption, formal adoption, that last meeting in September, first reading, the first meeting in October for second reading. So trust there'll be a lot more conversation with you all on the budgets, where we stand, department requests. In fact, we'll probably follow up this meeting with emailing you all their Form 1 requests, so you all can see what it is and some of their notes they've identified on the reasons for the increases. Any questions at this point on the budget?
2 questions and a point. Can you go back to, I think it's one of the first 2 or 3 slides? That one, to start with this one. Was there any feedback yet on the impact of SEA 1 on our property tax, specifically at like the hit we took on business personal property tax?
It's not broken down. It's kind of lumped together as an impact to SEA 1. It's actually a question I've asked to see if we can delineate just to understand, because next year will be the full implementation of the $2 million business personal property. The impact to the city of Tipton is under 400,000 as we estimate for next year. So it is an impact. We just don't know yet how much of that is a residential $300 credit versus the business personal property.
Okay.
I'm estimating, just based on our collective of businesses in Tipton, it's that 400,000 is probably largely the business personal property, not the residential impact.
We've talked about the ALS in the past because the problem we've always ran into is the cost to run the ambulance is not necessarily reflected in the ambulance fund because we couldn't put certain costs in there. So like paramedic pay goes into the fire department's budget. So it's like, what is the real cost to run ALS in Tipton? We got a brief presentation from Captain Moss. We probably should get one again soon on, are we running it profitably? And if so, like, are we realizing all the full net costs? Because what we don't want is the general fund to subsidize a loss from the ambulance fund, when the ambulance fund, in theory, either we're underpricing it if it's losing money. We either need more money from the county, or we should be trying to charge more money for services, or making sure we're collecting on non-collectible payments to the payment vendor. So we just want to make sure we're running that fiscally responsible. Because if we can't run it fiscally responsible, we shouldn't run it. But I don't think that's the case.
Correct.
I just want to be able to say that.
So the paramedics, the actual full-time paramedics are being paid out of the ambulance fund.
That used to be an issue, I know. So,
But the fireman that drives the ambulance is
Right.
paid out of the general fund.
right. And we could probably keep it that way. Just we need to make sure we analyze it correctly.
So
And then my last thing is not a point, but a question, but more a point for the general populace. Can you go to the first slide? I think there's still a misconception about this. And we probably should stop using the word cut when we're talking about this stage of budgets. We will only get $8.6 million. There's really not a lot of wiggle room there for the city. We can't just go raise more money on a whim. We're limited on what we can do. And when departments come and say, I want 10 million collectively, and we have to adjust, because I'm going to stop using cut, millions of dollars. These aren't cuts. These are just constraints that are put on the city. And what I keep hearing is you're cutting, especially public safety. In 6 years, when I first was elected, we aggressively tried to address issues with public safety pay. We actually added another full-time firefighter and police officer in 6 years. We rapidly, in those first 6 years, tried to increase their pay, which we did. We realized we were a bit behind. We added vision and dental. And as I'll get into in the insurance, we've been told we have some of the best insurance benefits in the state. We've upped longevity pay. We tried to do some more incentive pay. But what I'm trying to say is within the parameters of the money we're getting, we've tried to do what we can for all departments. But just because the department says, I want 2 million and we can only give them 1.8, it's not a cut, especially if they were operating on 1.8 before 1.6. But I keep hearing we're cutting departments, especially public safety, and it's just not quite true. I mean, remember when 6 years ago, they were driving around in Tauruses and a Charger, and we were like, we have to get on a rotation with these police vehicles because they were in such poor shape. Now we probably should look at pay. I don't know. I'm sure Chief Maddox has looked at that. And we can't be Carmel pay, we can't be Westfield pay, but we can try to stay competitive. But just a general point that, we only get so much money and it can only go in so many buckets. And people might not be pleased with the water we put in that bucket, but it's not like we can produce more water without taking from someone else's bucket. So they're not cuts, they're, I would say, adjustments. And we've never gotten a presentation like this, and we've never gotten a presentation like this early. So it's nice to see at least right now, what we're probably looking at having to do budget-wise.
Mhm.
Doesn't look like it's going to be too fun, but
Yeah, I think some of the challenges that frankly we're going to have, we've been working on as I've implemented the budgeting process. I think every year we see a good evolution to that, but some of the challenges working with departments now is last year was our big year of what I would say cutting a lot of the fluff out. So what we see this year is true costs on running departments. And so I'm frankly a little concerned. Our annual reductions for budgets that do help us fund for the following year may be a lot less than they have been in the past, which is kudos to the department heads in working through that process. But then I would also give them credit in these submissions that what I haven't seen illustrated in any budget presentations in the Form 1s is a basic plus 5%, plus 5%, plus 5%. Department heads have really critiqued their budgets, have already searched on what creative opportunities exist, but then truthfully, where are the needs? And when we have tasers out in the field that are in questionable condition that may not operate, that is very consequential and demands our attention. And they're not the only ones with examples like this. So we're trying to find some creative ways. How can we still do these big capital needs? Because it might come to a surprise to the council, because it did me, to replace all the tasers in the police department will cost $100,000.
$100,000.
$100,000.
I thought it said
So it's no, it's because they're all of questionable condition. So when you calculate these big ticket items, the SCBA's within the fire department they're probably 3 years away from need and replace. That'll cost us at least $110,000 to do that. So there's some opportunities that I'm working on with the department heads that'll require council action. I'll have more information as I continue to work with them, but we're trying to figure out within each of these departments, what are these capital items that they need that frankly we just can't fund through the general fund, but might be able to fund through some other
that's gonna be
mechanisms.
the key probably is a lot of these we're going to have to find non-general fund ways
Correct.
to pay for them.
Correct. But there's opportunities. So we'll continue to have some dialogue, conversation about that and keep you guys included in the conversation.
State surplus is $4 billion. Maybe they can pay for something.
And one of our tactics is to beg and plead. Yes. Just kidding.
Okay.
Any other questions before we move on to resolutions and ordinances? Again, I'll send this presentation out to you all just as a synopsis, but then also with the Form 1, so you guys have all that information.
Let me add something.
Yep.
Mayor's report, you looked over the agenda and you didn't. catch
I know.
it.
Well,
It's old business. No, it's new. It's new business.
Can we
It's low.
redact that from the record, please? All right, moving on to the resolutions and ordinance section of our agenda. The first is Resolution 2026-14, resolution of the City of Tipton adopting the 2026 Tipton County Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan. We do have Adam DeWitt with us today. If you wouldn't mind saying a few words to help provide some context to the council.
Yeah, so good evening. This is a plan that has to be in place for the state, for the communities to have on file and approved and adopted to be included in disaster monies and stuff like that. It's got to be updated every 5 years. And when I got into the job, it was kind of snuck up on me. And fortunately, we were able to get it done in time for the state. So it's been approved by FEMA, it's been approved by IDHS. We just have to have all the local communities adopt the resolution to approve the plan and take that in and to be able to receive monies in case there are disasters, declarations, or anything like that. So, yeah.
Is this true for both the state and federal level?
Yeah.
If the governor were to identify a state of emergency or FEMA, we wouldn't be eligible
Yeah,
without
you have
this.
to have this on file that they have approved.
Mhm.
That we have this and are working on it. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate all your work. I know you've been working on this, what, 6 or 7 months?
Yeah. So working with Indiana University, they helped write it, develop it, and then so yeah. But it's been quite the process of learning how to do this and what it all entails. So yeah.
I move to approve 2026-14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026-14. Any further questions or comments?
Who said the second? Joe?
Rick.
Rick Rippey. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you. If I could just get a copy of that.
Resolution.
So that way we can submit it to-
Yeah, if you want to stop by tomorrow, you
Okay.
can have it.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 2026-15, a resolution to incorporate recommendations by the Healthcare Committee for the provisioning of healthcare to the city and utilities employees effective September 1st, 2026.
All right. I will
Councilman
try
Crane.
My best to keep it concise, and this is pretty dense stuff.
Mhm.
And so I'll try to keep it in lay people's terms for the council and the general public. So 2 years ago approximately, we did this process. We didn't really see huge rate increases, so much so, in fact, we added vision and dental to very little cost to the city, but to great benefit to TMU and city employees. Over the last few years, the risk profile of the city has changed dramatically. We have quite a few employees or employee family members who are claimants, and that has changed what's called our loss ratio, meaning the insurance company is paying out 215% plus more than they generate in revenue from premiums from the city. And because of that, at this renewal, our current carrier wanted to charge us $260-ish thousand more in premiums. Several places didn't even want to quote us. Some were so uncompetitive it made the $260,000 increase look attractive. And then we had one quote from United Health Group that we are recommending that is the least impactful to the city, but also we structured it in a way that was still beneficial to the employees and their families, and I'll explain that in a second. We did have other options. We call them like the nuclear option of going into Medicaid or Medicare cost plus. A couple other things where we could give a stipend, I think, to the city employee, and then they would have to go out and buy it. We didn't want to do that. In fact, we switched our administrator from Cobra and HRA admin because it's been so poor to McGriff. So that's going to provide better support to the employees and their families, as well as Tammy and her office. So we're making that switch. It's really no net increase cost to us. So with that, the healthcare committee sat down and the United Healthcare group plan that we chose to recommend is going to change the deductibles for employees from $3,300 a person or $6,600 per family, that's currently, to $5,000 per person or $10,000 per family. Now, if I'm an employee, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a pretty big increase. What are the other details that go along with this? So the committee has elected to change how much we're going to contribute to the HRA and the HSA, both at an individual and a family plan. And the net of it is currently, if you're a single employee, no family, your out of pocket is $1,000, regardless. Like when you factor in the HSA, the HRA, and the deductible, $1,000 out of pocket. For a family, it's $2,000. So it's really not. If I'm a city employee, that's really good news. The financials of it, or it's a total net increase cost to the city and utility of $163,000, of which we estimate about $100,000 of premium increase will come from the city. That being said, we are increasing the HRA allotment, so we're gonna have to kind of budget that a little differently. But we think we can work it so that it won't be such a huge impact to our budget. Tammy and Keegan feel confident about that. So do I when we were looking at the numbers. So at first it seems, if I'm an employee, I still probably have tons of questions on what's in network, what's out. I don't want to get into that in this meeting. The service level on that regard should stay the same. Shouldn't change drastically. In fact, they just added Ascension at the day of the meeting we had it. So all the normal providers should be available, but I don't want to misspeak. Financially, the out-of-pocket to the employee or an employee with a family is very low, which is good. We're able to still offer what Doug said were some of the best benefits unanimously consented to by McGriff, or at least peers, and I would agree. Our employees pay $3 in premium a year. There are cities where, yes, they may earn more than us in salary, but Doug gave us examples of surrounding cities where families are paying $1,700 or so. I think it was pretty high out of pocket for premiums a month. and our employees do not have to do that. And we want to offer that. Vision and dental are staying. Dental increased by, it was an inflation adjustment of 2.9. Vision did not change. So we're still able to offer vision and dental to our employees. And we sat in that room for a long time. So I think what the solution we came up with, the council could sit here and be saying, look, we got to have employees pay premiums. Or we could be sitting here and saying, look, we can't afford it at all, like some communities, and you just got to go buy your own on ACA Marketplace, which if anybody buys that in the private sector knows it's low benefit, high cost, and super high deductible. And we just didn't feel that was a good option right now. So our recommendation is to go with United Healthcare Group. It will lead to, as you see in the ordinance, changes to the HRA, HSA, and deductibles on an individual family basis. And it will lead to some budget impact that we believe we can work out and still be within the constraints of what we just reviewed with the mayor. So any questions? I know that's a lot. And if you're not into healthcare or insurance.
Just let me say, that's who we have to count.
Yeah, UHG.
They're easy to deal with. I mean, anytime you got a question, you call them, they're pretty quick to answer. Claims are point on. Believe me, I got a few. So,
It is a shame that we had years of solid risk profile where our loss ratio was low, and we have 1.5 years of a really high loss ratio, and Anthem pretty much I think it's a non-renewal by way of just premium increase, but
Their presentation was at 45%, just to put a percentage behind Nate's 260,000. So 45% increase to keep things the same.
it's a quote non-quote.
United Healthcare is a 15% increase based on current expenditures on healthcare.
that's like kicking a concrete bucket.
It is, yeah. And the fact that United Group didn't even respond, and we tried to get an ICRA, and it was so uncompetitive. It's just sometimes the luck of the draw with your employee base and their families, and we just got to truck on and provide the best benefits we can, which I think this recommendation is. It's still top notch in my opinion.
Any other questions regarding recommendation resolution 2026-15?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 2026-15. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next on our agenda, ordinance 2026-05. It's amending the maximum salaries, wages, and other compensation for police officers, firefighters, and all other employees of the city of Tipton for fiscal year 2026. This is specifically for the police department, for the part-time officer line item creation and setting that wage, the field training officer payout and compensation schedule, and then the one-time retention bonus. This is for second and final reading.
I listened to the meeting, and it was within the parameter or constraints of the current budget.
Correct. There's no request for any additional funding. And to that end, I would offer, so we're now keeping track of the vacation payouts as estimated. This is a part of his budget from now until the end of the year. He budgeted 110 vacation days estimated to be paid out. They currently are down to 107. So he's continuing, even without the part-timers yet helping full swing, he is making good progress on reducing that number. And that's his big goal with some of these efforts.
Where do we sit with staffing? Because the only word I have is, and this is all with the retention bonus and all that's well deserved, is burnout still. You get a financial payout and you're happy for a bit, but then come fall, if we're not working on staffing, it's like,
So we have Javen, who is going to the academy here this month. He's one of our newest recruits from our last hiring process. They should be starting another hiring process this week. Tammy and I are working on some details with Chief Maddox on that in particular. He's actually going to change some of the strategy on the recruitment, some of the wording and positioning of it. So trying some new strategies, so we're just doing the same thing, hoping for a different result. I think we're trying to do some new things to see if we can yield better results.
We're two shorts, right?
We
Now
would
that
still be
Javen's-
3,
With Javen starting, we're still 3.
correct? This is why the retention bonus, because staffing was 25%.
Yeah.
We were down 25% of staffing. So we're hoping to make a strong push for lateral transfers who would require less or zero training other than just understanding the department, the people. They could be on the road effectively day one, helping the department.
I was kind of curious, Nate, where me and you had went out, worked on the uniform
Mhm.
for the police and stuff, and tried to get it at 1250. I noticed on this, it's at 500 again.
That would be because it's unchanged
Okay.
from last year's salary ordinance.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
so
didn't know if eventually, is that gonna go up to the 1250, or will that stay at the 500?
I would offer
The only
both.
reason I'm asking that, I know the cost of the
Mhm.
clothing anymore, maybe a couple pair of pants and a shirt,
Yep.
that's all they get for a year.
Yeah, so it's unchanged because there wasn't a request made to adjust the 2026 salary ordinance. We will have a new salary ordinance for 2027 as part of our budgeting process. Both chiefs have requested adjustments to. I don't think that either of them have gotten as high as the 1250 though. I'd have to double check that, but I don't remember that number being quite that high.
Used to
But it
be
is
pretty high.
progressive in attempting to close
Yeah,
that gap.
I've made my opinion known. I'm not a fan of uniform allowances. They're taxable. After tax, there's nothing left. I'm a fan, it's probably because I was in the Army, of the department furnishes everything.
Mhm.
They can get economies of scale when they purchase it. Yeah, we've had that discussion
I
for
thought
6
that's why
years.
we was trying to set it up.
I think but I think with departments being short-staffed, I totally get it's not on their radar. And
Right.
you need a procurement personnel, like an officer that says, yeah, I'll take care of it, like a supply sergeant, and they've just been so short-staffed. But yeah, I think it used to be, Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, 1,000?
Used to be 1,000, and then they would not use it, and then it would,
They would just
at
get
the
a
end, they would
check.
check.
Which there's pros and cons to both. Some simpler to do it that way, but then you got people maybe not buying uniforms. Yeah, there's just pros and cons to both. But I'm a fan of, eventually I'd love to see the city get in a spot where the department says, oh, you tore your pants in a pursuit. We have an extra pair of pants in a supply room, or
Right. Yeah, because they're almost $200 a pair anymore for them to get a pair of pants.
Mhm.
That's one of the reasons I was asking about the 500.
Any other questions on ordinance 2026-05, especially those that weren't here last time?
I move we approve ordinance 2026-06.
5.
Five.
Mine says 6.
put your glasses on. It does say, no, that's the zoning map. You're ahead.
Oh, my bad.
It's in your.
I am one ahead.
It's in your other.
Yeah.
05.
We have a motion, and did we get a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2026-05 on second and final reading. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Last item under resolutions and ordinances is ordinance 2026-06. It's an ordinance to amend the zoning map of the city of Tipton on first reading. This is for the lot the council has taken previous action on at 314 Fairview Avenue. This is a lot that the city of Tipton currently still has ownership of. You all made the affirmative action to transition to the RDC. What we're working on now is the neighboring property owner has interest in the property. And so to get that into a residential classification, it needs to be rezoned from institutional. In that process, however, there will be some adjustments because of the right-of-way. Interesting as this parcel is concerned, this parcel would have ownership into the middle of the street. So these are some of the things that we're hoping to clean up before working with the adjacent property owner to move this along.
Make a motion, we pass ordinance 2026-6.
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 2026-06 on first reading. Any further comment or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. After a full and dense meeting, we are now to claims.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve for payment claims 183040 through 183149 in the amount of $4,227,515.27.
We have a motion and a second to approve claims this evening totaling $4,227,515.27. Any questions or comments?
On page 3. The Tipton Fire Department Local 1979, do we pay their union dues?
No, they pay their union dues and, out of their paycheck, and I give it to the union. So I take it out of their paycheck and then I give it
So
to
you're
the
just,
union.
you're just transferring money?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Then on six, Golf Pro sales. Is that a reimbursement?
It's money that, that's collected with all the money comes in, and then I issue his money back to him.
The contractual relationship with the Golf Pro, since I think Jack Miller has been that the Pro receives the revenues from the sales of the merchandise inside. So we collect it all as a city and then distribute his
So it's
portion,
just
representative of what he has sold
okay.
during this period.
And the self-storage unit on page 11. Do we have a self-storage unit?
With the TDS one?
No. Is it, let me see real quick. Page 11.
Yeah, for $110.
Yes, we have one out, east of town for records that is in there because we have no place to store them. We had them in the, TDS building for a little bit.
Well, just offhand, I might recommend you talk to the county because you got plenty of room out there, right? At the church?
They're full.
It's full? Wow, okay. Forget I said anything.
Okay.
But I think I figured something out.
Is the cost to digitize them it's just too high compared to the cost, long-term cost of
It
storage?
always seems to be resistant to do that.
Some of the records, like the county, even though we send them up to northern Indiana, have them digitized, still have to keep the hard copies for life.
There's some, I know Tammy's office has even done work on identifying what files can be destroyed. And of course, there's parameters around how that can be done. But yeah, there are some that have to be held forever. But we've worked in some of our departments to digitize the file so we can reduce that.
That's available. The state has a retention schedule
Mhm.
that you have to follow it to a T.
Of course they do.
So there's been a motion and a second to approve claims this evening. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I abstain.
One abstention. Thank you. We are now to petitions, comments, and memorials. Like every meeting, calm down, don't fight over the mic.
Andy Pumphrey, 306 Rosie Street. I attended the first Friday And I think it's a great thing that what the Main Street is doing. I only have one concern, and I brought it to the council before. There is no handicap parking. The way it was outlined, arranged, they took away the courthouse. There isn't any handicap parking on Jefferson Street. The closest one, there might be one behind Pizza King.
Yep.
Might. Sheriff's office, post office. I just think it needs to be addressed for us old farts. That's it.
Thanks, Andy.
I'd like to mention something. I know during the pork festival before, they took like cones and just put a handicap sign on.
Mhm.
Not permanently, but for that particular event,
Mhm.
make 6 or 8 spots. Simple fix.
Was First Friday Main Street or Chamber?
It's a chamber event, isn't it?
Yeah, Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, they put plain
So
signs out.
Andy spoke to me before, we talked this through. Riley Harden, Director of the Chamber of Commerce here in Tipton, and it's something that we tried closing Jefferson for this First Friday. Went well from the business standpoint, didn't factor in potential handicap parking. Like you said, there's none on Jefferson Street, but as I meet with the planning group, it involves business owners, Jack Wagons, Chamber. It is something that we'll take into consideration for the road closure process, knowing that there's a limited amount of space moving forward.
Yeah.
So did they have anything on Madison Street this time?
No, we moved the food trucks, so that's something we already talked to Dylan about too, is if we do continue with Jefferson being closed, is there even a need for Madison to be closed, which opens up some.
I was
As
thinking
well.
handicap.
Yeah, so that's something that we're gonna meet before, the next official First Friday is not until October, they skip September for the pork festival. That's something that we'll be looking into ways to make it accessible, so.
Thanks, Riley.
Thank you. Uh-oh.
I will speak on the handicap parking. I know you mentioned the cone with the sign on it. Unfortunately, that is not enforceable. It has to be actually on a sign post, posted. And, so we can look into putting more handicap parking spots downtown, but just making a temporary handicap spot is very difficult to enforce.
I just know the police have done it in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah, no, and I'm not saying,
You can't.
you can't. I'm just saying
This
if
is-
somebody non-handicapped
Right.
was to park in it, there's not a whole lot the police department or anybody would be able to do about that.
Relying on people's good nature.
I got a question for you though. For, let's say, a business, you want to get a handicap spot out downtown.
Yep.
Where do you go to get the form?
Yep, so if you would like a handicap spot in front of your business, just request it from the police department and they'll let us know if they approve that spot or not, and we'll put it out. I have had many conversations with the city engineer about picking the right locations for handicap spots. It's also a conversation that needs to be had with business owners because the limited on-street parking, could take away from one spot in front of each business, depending on where we would put it. So we don't really want to upset downtown businesses by doing that, but also it is a need for additional handicap spots.
Very good.
Thank you, Mayor. Bob Edinger, Tipton. Just 2 things real quick. Seems to be a lot of activity out at Ball Diamonds working today.
Mm-hmm.
I see roofs going up.
It's very true.
The other thing, I wanted to thank you, Nate, for explaining cuts to the budget.
Adjustments.
Adjustments. People like to throw that around that it's a cut. A cut would be if you get less next year than you have now.
Right.
But people like to just call it a cut to, that's what that mean council did. So I'm glad you tried to explain that, and hopefully people will catch on to that. Or you might have to do it again, but thank you for that.
See nothing further.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motioned and second to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned.
Everybody.
Nate, yeah. I think even the audience.
I was thinking more in the lines of just keeping Madison Street closed and let handicapped people